Welcome to Weekend Wednesday. We are going to whop ourselves into action on this Weekend Wednesday with self-leadership, pending the situation. And one thing we've all got in common right now in this situation is none of us have got any experience with COVID and how it was going to impact our lives, our families, our businesses. It's a new task. So even those of us with 30 years experience with webinars or stages or coaching others or fixing cars or parenting or grandparenting, nobody has experience with living with COVID right now and this pandemic that's impacting all of us. So in situational leadership, over the next 4 Wednesdays, I'm going to share the various phases that we're all journeying through on our level of competency and our level of motivation. And so some of us are at that early adopter, enthusiastic beginner. I'm not going to let this get me down. It's kind of like teenagers with driving. They are enthusiastic beginners. They're like, yes, I can drive. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And they aren't at the disillusioned parking stage where it's much harder than they thought. It's that early stage, like in a job interview. I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And you don't know all of the requirements of the job, but you are just this enthusiastic interviewee ready to take on that job. And so in self-managing your way of being with your kids, with your employees, with your boss, with your reinvention of self and soul and business, or even partnership with someone you love, in this enthusiastic beginning, we are all kind of new with the COVID world. And so some of us are disillusioned already, some of us are sad, and wherever you are in your journey is okay. You're exactly where you need to be. Today is speaking about those enthusiastic beginners, ready to jump in both feet. And think of those teenage drivers that say, I can drive, before they've ever parallel parked or got on a highway, or an enthusiastic interviewee. I think of Steve Wozniak. He was an enthusiastic beginner. He is the co-founder of Apple, along with Steve Jobs. And, Steve Wozniak got the name for Apple working out of his garage. Like a lot of people right now are in their garage, in their condo, in their home, in their basement, reinventing self. And Steve Wozniak was in a garage with a neighbor with a bit of a hankering for an engineer degree. And some of you may not know, but he didn't graduate college at that point. And so here he is, just this enthusiastic beginner with a hankering of an idea. And him and the neighbor were drinking apple soda pop. They were drinking apple pop. And so the name of the computer, Apple, came from hanging out with his neighbor, and so they named it after the cream soda they were drinking at the time. And some of you may not know, but this engineering technological genius, Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, he also sings, he also dances. And so some of you kind of feel like, oh, I'm a mom, or I'm an artist, or we all possess these labels that we put on the outside of our jars, and we think that that's who we are. But look at Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. Who'd have thought he was a singer and a dancer? And so those creative juices are great wherever you're at. And it was just a garage project. And the big fancy name wasn't a big fancy marketing name. It was just a neighbor and him drinking apple cream soda. And so when I think of an enthusiastic beginner, one thing that we often do with our teenagers or with our new hires or our new volunteers or our staff, maybe they're lifelong veterans, but they're new to the task of, say, presenting, right? They're really good at loading bags, but now they're a manager. And so they haven't done people management. When there's a new task, not how long somebody's been on the planet, but a new task, right? All of us have this new task of coping with COVID. When there's a new task, you are a beginner on the task, not on the soul, not on the who you are, not on the transferable skills, but a new task. And so with enthusiastic beginners, often as parents with our teenagers or managers with our staff or with ourselves even, there's two parts to look at in self-leadership or managing others, and that's enthusiasm, motivation, and it's competency, the amount of skill you have. So if it's a new skill or a new thing that you're taking on, a new invention, reinvention, everybody's new to COVID, then your skill level as an enthusiastic beginner is low. It's a new skill. No matter how many transferable skills you have, the specific task is new. And if you're an enthusiastic beginner, I can drive, I can do this job, I'm ready to reinvent, I'm not going to let this get me down. If you're an enthusiastic beginner on a new task, you've got the enthusiasm, you've got the motivation. You don't need to self-motivate. You don't need to listen to inspiring talks. You don't need to inspire your kids. You can do it, you can do it. They know they can drive. They're excited to start driving, right? Or this new hire. They know they can do the job because they applied for it and they're super excited. So when you have an enthusiastic beginner in yourself or in others, you don't need to support through motivation, through enthusiasm. An enthusiastic beginner, the skills that they're demonstrating is they are a new task beginner. We are all new with COVID. So what you're looking for is guidance in the skill. You got this. You're enthusiastic. That's what you say to self or others. Here is the goal. Here is the knowledge you need to acquire. Here are the resources that might help you prepare for this new skill. Like a 365 in the old days, so the new learner's permit for driving, depending on where you live in the world, has a different name. What is the skill? What do you need to study? Who has these skills? Who's a good driver? Who's good at webinars? Who's good at podcasts? Who's good at managing others? Who's good at speaking on stages? Or who's good at doing presentations? Or who's good at leadership development? Reach out. You can reach out to Tracy for motivation, but that's not what you need. Reach out to, for example, an unstoppable Tracy for leadership development on presentation skills, on stress management, on dealing with angry others. Like, what are those skills that you need to develop given this COVID environment where everybody's mental wellness is on a different level of readiness? So this is part 1 of 4 in a situational leadership series. And this self-leadership for self and others is enthusiastic beginners. Focus on skill development, not motivating others. They are already enthusiastic. Thank you for listening in. Most appreciated. Please be sure to subscribe to Wealthy, Healthy, On Purpose, WHOP. Whop yourselves into action on this We Can Wednesday. And please also subscribe to Unstoppable Tracy and to all of these fabulous unstoppable groups that are kindly sharing these We Can Wednesdays. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.